Like many others out there, I had been personally hoping that Skyward Sword would be brought to the Switch in HD with the option of motion controls, and as a bonus, maybe mirrored so that you could play it left-handed too. But anyway, wish come true. In the last Nintendo Direct, Eiji Aonuma announced this very thing, Skyward Sword HD on the Switch with optional button controls. But now this question has arisen. Is it really left-hander friendly? Depends on how you look at it. Hey y'all, I'm the Geek Apprentice discussing the recent announcement of Skyward Sword HD for the Switch. I know that there are a ton of polarizing opinions concerning the game itself, its motion controls, the fact that it's the one that was chosen to be ported to the Switch, but the thing I want to focus on today in this video is this whole left-handed accessibility thing. The reason I personally never played Skyward Sword was because of those motion controls. Nothing wrong with them inherently, I have no idea, because I cannot hold a Wii remote in my right hand and remain coordinated. I'm serious, I just can't. Even for games as simple as Animal Crossing City Folk, I had to have the Wiimote in my left hand and the nunchuck in my right. I mean, I guess that's a pretty simple game, so it doesn't matter, but still. But concerning Skyward Sword, that wasn't the case for everyone who's left-handed. But fast forward to now, Skyward Sword HD with optional button controls. That means it's left-hander friendly, right? Well, yes. But also no, because guess what? We still can't use the motion controls. So let's dive into this a little bit. First of all, what are these button controls? Essentially, the sword is now controlled with the right control stick instead of the entire right Joy-Con. You are still using your right hand, but I mean, I wouldn't want to switch it to the left joystick because I've been using my left thumb to control the movement of characters like for over 20 years. I mean, back to the N64, like this. Don't change that now, that would be weird. But what about the camera? Like, how is that controlled? I know it's different in Skyward Sword. I hope it's not like Mario Galaxy, because if there's one thing I don't like about Mario Galaxy, it's the camera. I hate the camera of Mario Galaxy. Moving on. This is pretty cool because when you think about it, you're still kind of swinging a sword, in a sense, but it requires less coordination. It also means you can play handheld or on the Nintendo Switch Lite, which was the entire point of the adjustment in the first place. Though let's be real, the motion control abilities of the Switch Joy-Cons far exceed that of the Wii Motion Plus. Won't make a difference to my left-handedness, but I'm sure it'll make the experience for those who can use it way better. I mean, the game is designed around the concept of motion controls, which leads me to my next thought. Yeah, the game is literally centered around the concept of motion-controlled sword and shield. Hence, playing with the buttons kind of breaks the intent of the game and means you're not experiencing the game in its fullness as it was intended to be. So for someone like me who just, for whatever reason, really cannot force myself to use right-handed motion controls, but also would really like to experience Skyward Sword as it was intended to be, I'm at a loss that button controls can't satisfy. What do I do? I and many others have brought this up before, but why can't there be an option to mirror the game? They've done it in the past. When they had Twilight Princess on the Wii, they wanted motion controls, but Link is canonically left-handed, so they had to mirror the entire game so that Link would be right-handed. Because I imagine going in to change Link himself would probably have taken way too long and too much effort. I'm sure the same goes here, so why not just mirror it? Seems simple enough, right? The only weird thing is, would that move all the other buttons? Would that make it so that controlling where Link moves with the left is now the right? I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to just make it the motion controls, but I'm not educated on the ins and outs of video game engineering, so it might be way more complicated than I'm thinking. But now I'm getting to my final thought. Does it really matter? I'm being completely serious. It's estimated that roughly 90% of the world's population is right-hand dominant. Probably is the same in the gamer community, so just using the overall perspective, probably 90%, roughly, are right-hand dominant. That leaves only 10%. And of that 10%, probably 1 to 2%, I'm making this up now, I have literally no idea, but probably only a couple percent, like, of the whole big picture, not 1% of 10%, because that's a really, really small number, but if you know what I'm saying, probably only 1 to 2% are, like, ambidextrous, you know? So they don't have a problem, and then you've probably got another 1, 2, 3% of that last 10% as well that for some reason, even though they're left-hand dominant, they had no problem. I see these people in my comment section all the time. They're like, oh, I'm also left-handed, but I didn't have a problem using my right hand. And I'm like, really? Weird. I just couldn't. So that leaves us with what, 5 to 8% of the world who just can't do the right-handedness? That's not, I don't want to say, oh, we don't count, we don't matter, but in terms of business perspective, I don't think it's worth Nintendo's time and money to make that big of adjustment for like a very small amount of gamers, even though it would be cool. And honestly, out of the rest of us who just can't handle right-handed motion controls, how many are just absolutely dying to have the grand experience of motion controls? Other than me. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but it's for a tiny number. My point is, I think a lot of us, me included, are making something out of nothing. Link is canonically left-handed, save for Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and Age of Calamity. And for those last two, I don't know why they left him right-handed. Maybe they were thinking about adding motion controls. That's probably it. But that alone is really cool, right? I don't have to get the genuine experience to love the story and basic gameplay of Skyward Sword. Do I really want to try left-handed motion controls in a Zelda game? Well, no duh, of course I would, but it's not the end of the world. I think I'll live. It's just such small numbers that you wonder, is it really worth Nintendo's time and money to make that big of a change? But like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of gaming. Maybe it is actually super simple, in which case I would hope they would do the mirroring thing. But maybe it's not that simple. Maybe it is super costly. Maybe they just wanted to, but I don't know. There are so many variants. We don't know because we're not game designers. So if they ever decide to give the mirrored left-handed option, great. I will happily try it out. If not, whatever. I think there are bigger problems in my life than wondering whether or not I'll get the true experience of Skyward Sword by playing it left-handed. You know, some might say, girl, you're being way too dismissive about this. Others might say, what was the point of this video? You ended up not really caring in the end. But as someone who is left-hand dominant, there's my 2 cents, but I'm just one person. Other people might think completely differently. Either way, I'm gonna play the game and love it for all it has to offer, button controls and everything. Let me know in the comment section how excited you are to play Skyward Sword HD on the Switch. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider checking out my other content about a myriad of geeky fandoms like Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon, Pokemon, there's a whole list of them. And maybe consider subscribing, which means you'd be a part of what we call the geekdom. It's really cool. Special thank you to each and every one of my patrons, especially those in the highly end tier. You all are the best. But anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching.